Well, well, Interblops, we meet again. This is and this is I Played a Thing, Alone in the Dark. Last time we collected a bunch of books, read a bunch of books, sent the vagabond back to its own dimension, and got killed by a book. And that's pretty much where things stand. We have several unread books to read today, so that's what we're going to start off with. We've actually gotten pretty deep into the game at this point, and it's possible, it's not a sure thing, but it's actually possible we might finish today. But if we don't, we certainly will next episode. We'll just let the chips fall where they may. For now, however, we've got a little reading to do. Let us begin with that nice shiny red book. Rather handsome, isn't it?
Fragments of the Book of Abdul.
The Book of Abdul, eh? That would be the Necronomicon. I think we should probably close this one. Okay, so you read the excerpt of the Necronomicon, get lightly slapped by Kenshiro, and take a little bit of damage. Actually, not very much. We were at 52 before the reading, so we only actually lost 5 health from that, which, in the context of things that can hurt you in this game, is really not very much at all. You would think even just the amount of headbanging that Carnby did on the floor at the beginning of that animation would be enough to do 5 damage, but yeah, apparently all the horrible twistings and disfigurings of the body really didn't affect him all that much at all. That said, we really don't need to accept that damage, so let's go ahead and reload. Just like with De Vermis Mysteriis, if we're standing on the pentagram here in the hidden room, then we will not be harmed when we read the fragment of the Necronomicon, so let's try that again.
Fragments of the Book of Abdul.
In the antique city of dead Relaya, Cthulhu dreams and waits. In the pit of time, the unspeakable lies in wait. That is not dead which can eternal lie. Relaya, your blocks of stone seal the ritual that gives birth to fear. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah!
It's got a good beat and you can dance to it.
Let he who knows how to invoke the stones act. It is time. Let the shadow of Cthulhu darken the sky. May the servitor of the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs sound his flute in honor of the unspeakable. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah!
I gotta say, I rather like the actress's delivery in this reading. Also, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs. We know that. That's, the Vagabond's boss. The old, boss in charge of the Grape Space Ape.
May he who may not be named cast his withering gaze upon the unbeliever, for he is the door, the key, and the guardian of the door, and holds you now in his immense power.
Immense power being the power to distort your model and make you lose a very small amount of health. Alright, so that's Fragments of the Book of Abdul. A truly classic bestseller. We've got a few other things here that are a little less dangerous to read, so let's wind down with those.
Unfinished Chapter of Terra Incognita by Jacob Van Ostate. A hitherto unpublished fragment of the manuscript unearthed following indications furnished in the Vatican Library's Expurgatory Index.
In those icy and unwelcoming lands, the rites of wizards and healers are deeply rooted in ancient legend. Mysterious and cruel beings are thought to have ruled over the Arctic plains in times past. A cursed city, enclosed by massive walls, is believed to stand to this day. It contains fabulous treasures and is inhabited by the degenerate descendants of those who instilled centuries of terror in the hearts of the people.
Love that accent. Those R's, man.
These people, naturally placid, are seized with rage and horror at the very mention of the prisoners of the ice. Were these dreadful captives to be freed from their frozen cells, they would reap a horrifying tribute of human flesh. These blood-curdling beings may be invoked by certain ritual words. They can even be controlled, albeit with the greatest of difficulty.
Reap a horrifying tribute of human flesh. I love that line. Very evocative. Also, prisoners of the ice. This whole notion of horrors trapped in frozen cells would later be explored in another Lovecraftian Infogrames game, a 1995 pointy-clicky adventure titled, wait for it, Prisoner of Ice.
I admit to being impressed by these tales, repeated to me on many occasions and in a number of different places during my travels in the region. I have also seen troubling cult objects, sculpted in a material unknown to me. Another remarkable fact is that local Eskimos experience great distaste in pronouncing certain words, and invariably avoid saying them.
More on the power of the word. Also, when I think about it a little more, that's truly impressive when a game gets title dropped several years before its release.
Here is a living example of the power that words contain. As it is said in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word.
Amen. Not the most important of the books in terms of what actually is relevant in this game, but an interesting little foreshadowing of Prisoner of Ice. So there's Terra Incognita for you.
If Rocks Could Talk, or The Story of a Louisiana Plantation by the Marquise de Chamfray.
This here is another developer shout-out. Didier Chanfray did Alone in the Dark's 3D modeling.
After the criminal selling off of Florida by the foul usurper, my father elected to remain in this inhospitable land, where we were free at least to express our royalist feelings, and hope our country would come to its senses. In 1818, a certain Pickford bought up Ledoux's land, after the poor fellow had ruined himself in unfortunate speculation. Pickford soon turned out to be the most loathsome human we had ever encountered. He was an adventurer of the worst kind, nouveau riche, and bloated with a grotesque sense of self-importance. First came the incessant army of men with shovels, digging into the mountain of earth that was to fill in the surrounding swamp. The undertaking was quite stupendous. We learned from a slave that the final objective was to connect the existing caves with another one of gigantic proportions.
I love the standard at work here. The most loathsome human being we had ever encountered. Nouveau riche, oh my god!
Racked by a mania of persecution, Elia Pickford constantly fired his workers and hired new ones. He did all he could to keep anyone from learning about his plans. My father was amused and said, "The poor fool will end up getting lost in his own cave." But the walls went up, and tongues started wagging. Our detestable neighbor had been a sailor, a ruffian grown rich on questionable trade. Distasteful stories were told of him.
A sailor, a ruffian grown rich on questionable trade, almost like, say, a pirate or something. A little bit of a map there, not terribly useful in terms of actual in-game value, but a little bit of flavor, I suppose.
When the work was finished, Pickford invited us to the opening of his rambling mansion, which he named Derceto. My father asked what the strange name meant. Pickford answered, "Derceto reminds me of Astarte, the fertility goddess. Around here, the name is Shub-Niggurath. I believe that a name so steeped in evil should be said aloud came as not such a shock to my father, as he himself confided in me some while later."
And so now we know who the original creator, the original, I suppose, commissioner of the building of Derceto was, one Elia Pickford, who apparently was an ex-pirate. We may be seeing a few lines starting to come together here.
We left immediately. In June of 1862, Derceto was burned down in unexplained circumstances. It was undoubtedly the deed of some jealous Yankee or another. It was amazing to watch the servants rushing into the flames to try and save their bullet-riddled master. After that terrible night, Derceto fell into ruin. Its blackened walls were soon overgrown, as human-built works always are, by ever-present nature.
I suppose we shouldn't be too terribly shocked that one such as Pickford would come to no good end.
In 1875, the property was eventually bought by a gentleman whose name was Howard Hartwood. I was sorry that my father, who delighted in fine conversation, was no longer alive to enjoy the company of this new neighbor. Learned and well-versed in history, he had made a particular study of piracy. It was Hartwood who told me that Pickford had commanded a ship that flew the flag of piracy. That explained the scoundrel's great wealth.
And we have confirmation. And also a little bit of information of how Derceto came to change hands into the Hartwood family.
Hartwood was fascinated by Pickford and undertook a great deal of research in an attempt to find some treasures that he was convinced the pirate had hidden. He went through the ruins inch by inch. He then had the burnt-out house rebuilt exactly as it had been, and refurbished the library that had miraculously escaped the flames on the night of the Great Fire.
So Derceto was gutted by fire in Pickford's time, at the time of Pickford's death, in fact, and yet the library was just fine. Now, given all that we've experienced in the library, I wonder how that could be.
Hartwood set about studying every volume in that library, and often talked to me of his research. He was a handsome widower, deeply attached to his son Jeremy, who was later to become a professional artist.
Aw, there's our first appearance of young Jeremy. Poor guy.
Hartwood worked incessantly, first from the room I offered him, then from his own freshly restored home, which he rebaptized Derceto. I imagine he hoped to enlist the help of the god of good fortune in his treasure hunt. As far as I have ever been able to tell, all his searching came to nothing. There were no lost treasure to be found at Derceto. I learned of Hartwood's death while I was in Paris, but That, as they say, is another story.
Well, compared to the Prisoner of Ice book, this one's certainly a lot relevant to the game we're actually playing here. Rather a lot of nice backstory there. And that leaves us with one more book to go through.
The Sons of the Sun and of the Shadows. Lieutenant Lope de Vega's account of his astounding travels to the land of the Aztecs.
"Holy Christ!" cried Captain Cortez, astonished by the strange rite we beheld. We found the savages half naked. They were throwing balls of silver and gold at each other. They laughed as if demented, clearly maddened by some heathen drug. And yet, should one of them fail to catch the ball thrown in his direction, the poor devil was seized and dragged off to be sacrificed in their temple. As we discovered, this frightful game was a ritual most holy to them, and symbolized the movement of the heavenly bodies. The dropping of a ball foretold a catastrophe. That is what the Aztecs believed, in their godless ignorance. Their countless deities could only be appeased through endless human sacrifices. The victim's heart, which was still beating, lay in the hand of the murderous priest. The interior of the temple was surprisingly cool. The weight of our armor, our exhaustion, even the burden of our suffering, they were all banished by a sense of awe that the crudely magnificent altar instilled. In the tomb-like silence, a deep voice chanted an incantation. The majestic statue of the water goddess, Chalchihuitlicue, seemed to throb with vitality. This massive stone, draped in a golden cloak and studded with precious stones, was coming to life before our very eyes. Horror of horrors! The granite eyes of the statue, empty of life only moments before, were now injected with blood. We staggered back in amazement. Dom Jose was taken by a fit of convulsions. He tried to raise up his crucifix, as if to ward off an attack by demons. The heathen priest laughed cruelly. The statue's mouth cracked open in a deathly grin, bearing teeth sharpened to dagger points.
Okay, that's creepy.
Captain Cortez cried, "Attack!" But it was no use. We were glued to the spot. First, we were unable to move. Our armor seemed to be bolted to the temple floor. Our legs weakened, and we collapsed in a thunder of steel. Only Cortez had the presence of mind to unsheath his dagger. He hurled it at the cackling priest. 4 inches of the finest Toledo steel buried itself in the heathen's face. His blood spurted, splashing the now lifeless idol. We picked ourselves up with difficulty. Never will I forget that terrible moment. My companions, naturally enough, told tales of devilish enchantments cast upon our armor. Whatever the truth of that, I could not deny that the supreme god of the fourth universe had treated us as mere playthings. I am convinced that a terrible energy is yet contained within that heathen statue. A power strong enough to change a proud conquistador into a helpless puppet. Drawing of Chalchihuitlicue by Dom Jose de la Sierra, done before the destruction of the Aztec temple of Tenochtitlan.
So this book is mostly just flavor. However, you will notice perhaps that the drawing of the statue there by old Dom Jose is very similar to the shape of that very heavy statuette that we used to throw at the suit of armor outside the library in order to crush it and obtain its sword. This, I think, might be a hint, given that several times throughout the text, the armor of the conquistadors and its weight were mentioned. So that might be a little bit of a hint as to how to use the statue to defeat the knight, or the knight's armor. I'm not entirely sure. If that is the case, it's kind of obtuse, but it doesn't seem to be a coincidence. And wow, we've spent like 20 minutes just reading. Fortunately, I don't think, if my memory serves, that there is another text dump of this magnitude anywhere else in the rest of the game. And that's a lot of books, so we should definitely unburden ourselves. Oh, hey, Edward's actually getting his throws right. I'll just dump everything over there on top of, De Vermis Mysteriis. Cover that up as much as we can. Which is not very well, considering it still seems to be sitting on top. Oh well. Well, we don't want to have any misfortunes after getting all that reading done, so let me go ahead and establish our save game for today. There we go. And after our business with the snaky dagger last episode, we no longer have to worry about Lieutenant Winston Chang, so we don't really have to worry too much about getting out of the library, but I don't entirely fancy my chances of getting out of here in the dark, so let me go ahead and break out my lamp again. There was some pretty loud noises in the pipes of the house right now, so I do apologize if that ended up on the recording. Okay, lantern away. And I think that's pretty much all there is to do up here, so let's go ahead and make our way back downstairs again. I don't remember exactly what I'm doing at this point, so let me go ahead and update my save, just in case I take a wrong turn somewhere. What have we got over here? Ah, okay. This is the zombie room, where the door actually reclosed itself. We remain completely safe as long as we don't actually antagonize the zombies in any active way. As long as the stew is there, they're perfectly happy. Oh, the smoking room. Okay. I was wondering when I'd get to that. Couldn't remember exactly where it was located. Now, you saw in our brief step in there that there was an ashtray of cigars on the table. We can step in and take another look at that, and see the smoke starting to billow out. Now, if you stay in the room, the smoke will gradually fill the room in sort of a gray spiral, and you'll start taking damage from it. Then the smoke will clear out, and then it'll fill up again, and you will take damage again, and so on. It is not necessary to do anything about the cigars. You can just run through, and it'll be perfectly fine. But we can take care of them and get rid of them permanently and not have to worry about them again by the water that we have carried with us in the jug. So I'm going to go ahead and run in and do that real quick. Whoop. I have to run in at the right angle, though. That's more like it. We also get a lighter for our trouble. Don't mind if I do. Now then, the important thing... we use the water jug. Oh shit, I was a little too slow. We should be able to do it from this side of the thing. You can see we lost 5 health there, which is not too terrible. There we go. Poured the jug's content on the cigars. Once that's done, you don't have to worry about any more health loss from the smoke. It'll just dissipate harmlessly. Losing that 5 health really wasn't necessary, but we're in pretty good shape as far as health goes, so I'm really not going to lose any sleep over it. I could restore my game, but I can't be arsed. Oh, hey, some tunes. Cool. And yes, another book. Now, what is this room over here? Ah, okay, this just leads back out into the entryway. Well and good. Is there anything else in this room? I don't believe that to be the case, but let's check. Nope, I think we're done in here. Well, let's catch up on a little more reading, shall we?
Memories by Alistair Boleskine. Printed in London, A. Machin, editor, 1833.
Alistair Boleskine. That would be the one Lord Boleskine that we read a little bit of the writing from before. The kind of highfalutin guy who would say one this and one that and sort of a weird royal we kind of construction. Also, A. Machin. I don't think that's quite the correct pronunciation. If I understand correctly, this refers to Arthur Machen, a writer of horror and other genre fiction in the 19th and early 20th centuries, especially popular in the 1920s. His best-known works are The Great God Pan and The Bowman, and he was a key influence on H.P. Lovecraft, who named Machen as one of 4 modern masters of horror. Contemporary admirers included W.B. Yeats, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Aleister Crowley, and Stephen King's a fan too. Again, I believe that is Machen and not Machen, but I will check my work on that after the recording.
It was during a conversation with G that one first heard of the New England fishing village of I. The area was apparently the ideal place from which to witness unusual phenomena in space. The quality of the air, along with the conjunction of several favorable factors, made one impatient to get started. Having gleaned what information one could from the British Museum, one set off with all haste.
There's our good Lord B still doing that one did this, one did that thing again. Also, the New England fishing the New England fishing village of I. Little bit of an Innsmouth reference there, I imagine. Also, during a conversation with G. Did G suffer?
One's work on space and comets in particular had met with a warm response, and one thought it judicious to include several original sketches of the phenomenon, sketches which one felt were sure to arouse a great deal of keen interest in the scientific circles of 1834. One refers naturally to the passage of Halley's comet.
Editor's note: Lord Boleskine's memoirs end at this point. Who knows what extraordinary contributions he might still have made had he not succumbed during his visit to New England to dementia, followed by an early death in St. Andrew's Hospital.
Yeah, this is some pretty damn short memoirs. Poor Lord B. I guess going crazy when seeing things a little too close to the cosmos is a fairly common thing in this here universe. Well, time to throw away our memories. Hey, there's the arm working again. And this is locked, and I don't believe we have any keys that we haven't used yet. Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And it's even the right one. How about that? Well, we've got a very obviously polygonal desk and a very obviously polygonal sword over a shield on the wall here. That's the kind of coat of arms kind of deal where you usually see 2 swords, isn't it? We'll take another look at that in just a moment, but first I want to make sure I do a proper search here. Ah, another record, excellent. And, my goodness, another book. I don't think there's anything in the little cabinet over here, but let me check my work on that. Nope, nothing important. Anywho, as you may have already guessed, over here on the wall is where we can take care of our sword and sword hilt from the cavalry saber. Let me go ahead and get that out of the way. Saber blade into the coat of arms. Oh, by the way, if we search this, I believe we can see that there's a mechanism. Yep. And now that we've triggered the mechanism, the desk swings aside, revealing stairs going downward. That, however, is endgame, and if we go down there now, we will not be able to return after a short distance in, and we will be screwed because we don't have everything we need for down there yet. Yeah, you can turn around and come back up the stairs if you do it immediately, I believe, but not too far in there's a point of no return, so yeah, bad idea right now. For the moment, let's just go ahead and read us another book. This is a very literary episode.
The Tale of Captain J.W. Norton of the Army of the Union.
1862. The South was in collapse. Louisiana was open to us. I had each day to requisition victuals for our troops, and was aided in this endeavor by a score of brave men. Rebels were not yet ready to lay down their arms. The region was far from safe. I headed further and further west, and questioned many freed slaves. From them, I learned of a plantation on the coast. Its name was Derceto.
Ah, looks like we've found ourselves another tale of the early days of Derceto.
We received a less than hearty welcome. Only Pickford, the owner, behaved in a friendly manner. While my men counted cattle and grain reserves, I learned what I could from him. Man was most unusual and possessed an extraordinarily cultured mind. At nightfall, I gave orders for the men to bivouac at Derceto. Pickford invited my second-in-command, Lieutenant Patterson, and myself to dine. And our host proved a most entertaining conversationalist. While coffee was being served, Patterson went to inspect the men's camp. The cigar Pickford offered me was so acrid that my head began to spin.
Well, cigars that mess with your head enough to make you a little sick. We've had a recent experience like that. Also, the beginnings of some of the pages of voiceover seem to be a little squirrely. My apologies for that.
I remembered campfire tales of fellow officers trapped by devilish Confederate tricks. My mind floated in a foul and dense fog, from which emerged the enlarged and deformed face of Pickford. He grinned at me.
Enlarged and deformed face. Ooh, that creeps me out a little bit. Makes me think of that one room from the hospital tour at the end of Silent Hill 4.
Patterson's return chased off the nightmare. I heard shouts and firing from outside and found the strength to take out my revolver. I fired 3 shots. Pickford fell to the floor. Patterson then helped me out of the burning house. The air was filled with smoke. We resembled a company in disorderly retreat. I saw slaves leaping into the flames of that inferno. They were trying to save Pickford's life.
And here we learn a little more about how old Aaliyah Pickford got himself filled with bullets and the house burned down. Well, as with most books in this here Alone in the Dark, this one is quite disposable. And so away it goes. Well, it's starting to look like we've explored most of what we can possibly explore without actually trying to go downstairs or out the front door. But there's still a little more we can do. Oh my goodness, it's a pirate ghost. One of Pickford or Preg's men, perhaps, still clinging to this life? Well, we've got some nice quality modern weaponry, so let's introduce him to it. Completely ineffective. Any firearm you try to use on the pirate ghost will just cause him to backflip and laugh. No damage is done. In fact, very few weapons will do any harm to him. Pretty much nothing except for blades, and in that case only full-length blades. So this sword here is exactly what the doctor ordered. The cavalry saber will also damage him, but as we know, that breaks incredibly quickly. I'm not sure if you can still fight him with the hilt of the saber after it's been broken. I wouldn't venture to try because his reach is pretty good, but whether it's technically possible, I honestly couldn't tell you offhand. Let's go ahead and use the sword. Now, this is the one fight in the game where the parry can actually be of some value. You can kind of deflect his attacks, and you can also try and get in slashes at him accurately by watching the way his sword moves, stuff like that. But I am honestly not that good at this fight, so I prefer to just kind of back him up by swinging wildly and moving forward. If you can back him up against a wall before he dies, then things are pretty much over for him. In any case, this is definitely the hardest mandatory combat in the game. Oh, wow, he's really got range. He can block like a mofo, too. Oh, we traded there. As you can see, he does have a little bit of parrying ability. Oh, I think we might get him stuck. I think we might have him stuck. Ah! He's getting his hits in on me. I'm actually doing quite badly here. I should have saved before this. And he's down. Just how bad was that? 35, wow. Yeah, I took quite a bit more damage there than I needed to. I still wouldn't say I'm really in trouble. But let me make a separate save just to be on the safe side. We can overwrite the loft, I think.
Daemonia Particularis, Signs and Rituals, by Heinrich Cassel, Ring Publications.
The ritual of invocation demands that the officiant be pure. We have already described the complex operations to be followed in order to call those that sleep in superior dimensions. We shall, for the present, limit ourselves to the sign of mutual recognition used amongst their number by adepts of the cult of the Old Ones. The sign also serves as protection when in the presence of a servant of evil. The sign resembles a blessing, save that the first and little fingers are both folded beneath the thumb, whilst the second and third fingers are held up. It would appear that this sign has no effect on adepts of a certain rank with knowledge of particular secrets contained in the corpus demonicus. The use of such signs is not without considerable risk to the user during any attempt to call upon those from without.
And we have acquired a key from Mr. Pirate Ghost. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be alright, but just in case, I have that backup save. I can always get myself back here and redo if it comes down to it. but I really don't think it's going to come out that way. Oh. Hello. Looks like everyone's all ready for a party, just waiting for the music to begin. Hint, hint. Over here we have one more record for our growing collection. I do not believe there to be anything in this here, or anything else hidden in any of the various objects in this room. I think we have some books showing through the wall here. I don't remember what these exits are. Let me check on that. Okay, that's the garden full of spiders. We're not going to want to go anywhere near that. And this is what? I don't remember at all. The key to the dance hall. We can get rid of that, I do believe. No. What am I thinking? I'm sorry, between my sword arm and my brains, I'm a little bit off today, it seems. We'll get that out of here. What is that door? I'm not at all sure. I don't have any other keys, do I? Oh, I do have this key, but I no longer need it. No, we don't need that again. Okay, so clearly, we've got a crew all waiting for the music to start here. You know what, I feel a little weird about this whole thing. I'm going to take this key. I'm not entirely sure what the story is with that. So, since we've got a party here all waiting to get started, I guess we better provide some DJ services. Let's try playing this purple record that we found in here. Well, looks like our dancers are not a big fan of this tune. But it is a lovely bit of music, and you actually can use the gramophone in this record to put on a little bit of BGM anytime the spirit so moves you. Even after we've picked up the gramophone and the record again, the music continues to play. Doot doot, doot doot, doo 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 doo. Ah, lovely stuff. Okay, so that's clearly not what's going to get the party jumping. Let's try our red record here. Well, that's also very nice, but it doesn't seem to be the kind of thing that really gets the people out on the dance floor. That just leaves one record, the green one. And as you might expect, that's the one that's going to be important here. Let me position myself a little better before we try and play that. Now, as you might guess from the look of them, our partygoers here are ghosts, which means touching them would be very, very, very bad for reasons the same as the ghost we saw upstairs. This is, therefore, quite dangerous because once we start the proper record playing, they're going to start moving, which will give us access to that key on the mantle, but we will have to weave around them, and this is one of the easiest places in the game to die. So, let me go ahead and update my save. And we'll try to get out of this party alive. Ah, Camille Saint-Saëns. That's what you want when you want to rock. Okay, we've got our key, now we just have to get out alive. Oh shit, coming back this way. Pardon me, friends. If I can get out of the room, we're gold. Because as soon as you escape the room, you hear the bubble sound, and the ghosts all dissipate. Ah, that's the power of a little dance macabre. It seems that when lots of things are moving around the screen, that's when it's harder to get the run going. I was double tapping to run, but it didn't work, and I think that's because there were several movable models in the room, in this case the ghosts, and possibly the spiders as well in the next room. That's why I think it didn't work too well in the basement earlier, when there were rats running around. Nope, that's still not right. Wonder how you get that door open. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. If I'm not mistaken, the last important thing we needed was the key from the mantle there, and now we're like totally fine as far as going into the endgame, but I'm not 100% confident of that, so I am going to see if I can figure out how to get that other door open before we call it a day. Now we're going to do a little Shaun of the Dead and throw our records across the room, which causes quite a thump and does not actually break them. While I'm in here, in a place where I can throw reasonably cleanly, let me make sure there's nothing else that I need to get rid of. The sword is now completely unnecessary, but it is a decent weapon, so just in case I'm going to go ahead and hang on to it. The jug, on the other hand, has no further value. Oh, something of minor interest that I should mention. The posthumous opus, the red record, that is the sound used in the disc version for the endgame, or not the endgame, but the game over music for when you die and get laid on the slab. In the CD-ROM version, for whatever reason, they don't use that. Can we maybe get in from this side? No. How peculiar. I wonder if I glitched something. But that's definitely into the same room, I'm pretty certain. Huh. Well, at any rate, let me just make a quick double check of my... Oop, this isn't where I need to be. Let me just make a quick double check of my inventory to make sure I have everything I could think of needing. Let's see, we definitely are going to need that key. Still not sure about what's going on with that key. The lighter we're going to need. The lantern we're certainly going to need. Talisman, a revolver. Revolver not strictly necessary, but helpful as weapons tend to be. I think we're okay. I really hope so. Again, if push really comes to shove, then I can restore to that older save and just get back to where I need to be off screen, but I think we're okay. I really do. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make one more updated save, just to be on the very, very safe side. Alright, down we go. Remember how I said if you turn around and go back immediately you're okay, but after that there quickly becomes a point of no return? Yeah, this very suspicious looking bridge here. I have to get my run to work here, because we can't just walk across. It falls apart too quickly. If you try to just walk across, you're going to die. And now that bridge, there's no getting back across there. That is our point of no return. We are now completely stuck. Then we are now once again in the caverns under Deseto, hopefully a little less lethally than our previous attempt. Oh, there again we have a worm immediately, but this time we can run away. Get into a side cave, where we find, for the first time in a while, a chicken. Which we are going to nuke, much as we have done in the past. Oh, a little tougher than previous chickens. I think before they would take 2 shots to go down, this one took 3. Well, we can let the worm go by in the background there, and then I believe we are safe to go down the path that it just uncovered by burrowing through a boulder. Let me hope I'm doing this correctly. Oh, it hasn't moved on yet. If I turn around and then come back, will it be moved along? Nope, I guess I have to move a little further ahead. Okay, I'm pretty sure that is the way I need to go, I just need to trigger its further movement. Okay, I think that sound is it moving again, and we'll run back into it if we continue in the direction we're going, and I don't want that. So let's go back this way, and we should, yes, we now find the path is open. Wait, what the shit? What did I do? I have committed an error in some way. Clearly I have not clearly remembered the way this works. And I seem to be stuck. Okay. Fortunately, by a little wiggling around, I was able to get myself back out of there. Let's turn around, let's go a little further. And then I think we can eventually go back. Okay. We've now seen its face here. Maybe now we go back. I swear, I did revisit this game before the LP. I just don't remember in exact detail how all of the scripting works down here, because it is a little squirrely. Here we go. Good. I'm glad to have that out of the way. Now, we should encounter something new when I drop down from here. Yep, there's something we've read about. It's a deep one. Now, this bridge might look a little suspicious to you, and you'd be exactly right. But, now that we've entered the caves below Dusetto the proper way, we have a new command appear in our menu. We can now jump. So we will jump across here, and that will be safe for us. That's a little bit of a curveball the developers throw you there. Suddenly you have a new command in your menu that wasn't there before, but, well, that's just the way it is. Deep ones, by the way, you can kill normally with pretty much any weapon you wish, but they infinitely respawn whenever you're around water, so it doesn't actually do you any good. Now, this enemy here, on the other hand, is one that is a good idea to destroy. I think it is possible to run by it, but that's risky and doesn't actually help you any. Better to just break out a weapon. We might as well keep burning up those rifle cartridges before we go to the revolver. Pow! What exactly this is, I'm not entirely sure. It looks like some kind of rat spider with a bright red baboon ass. But pretty weak in the grand scheme of things. It goes down after only 2 rifle blasts. And it also, I don't believe, does a whole lot of damage. Only about as much as a chicken or a zombie. That said, not a terrible idea to get our save up to date. And here we have some little weird sort of flying creature. And what looks like, and in fact is, a bit of platforming. Not really a great fit for this game engine, but it is manageable. We should, however, not try to do it while this critter is flying around. We should probably get rid of it. The aiming is a little tricky here, but I think we'll be alright. We do, after all, have a few shots to spare if it comes down to it. Okay, that's one. And it just keeps kind of blithely flying around, oblivious to the fact that we just filled it full of lead. And dead. Where does that put us with respect to rifle shots? Oh, we have a big fat shiny 1 left. But we have 18 bullets in our in our revolver, so I don't think we have to worry quite so much. Now, it is a very good thing if you can make it across all these pillars safely, using your shiny new jump command, but falling isn't the end of the world. If it happens, we'll be alright. That said, I am going to save after every jump because it is easy to screw up here. You don't have any control over the range of your jump. It is a fixed distance. So once you've chosen your direction and left the ground, you are committed. And it is, as you can see, quite possible to overjump, as I very nearly did there. And I see we are getting close to the hour mark, but we are quite deep into the endgame. There's really not a whole hell of a lot of Alone in the Dark left to go, so from here forward I'm just going to proceed. I can't talk all of a sudden like I can ever talk. I'm going to proceed right on ahead to the end of Alone in the Dark, even if it takes a little bit of a long episode. And we made it. Marvelous. I don't think we're in any more immediate worm danger. I'm going to cross my fingers that I'm correct with that. If we hang a left here... Matter of fact, I'll just update my save once again and show you. There's just a big-ass spider that we can't defeat. So, leaving is the right thing to do. And it is entirely possible to run down the spider hole there and die. That'll just kill you outright, so yeah. I think the spider in there might actually be just a blown-up model of whatchamacallit, of the spiders in the arrow room. Oh, yep, there's another critter. Now, there's a little bit of a puzzle here, which you can actually just kind of ignore and proceed through blindly, but things will go a little bit easier for you if you proceed according to the rules of the puzzle, which are a skull to port, a saber to starboard, I believe. Now, port on a ship is to the left, and starboard is to the right, so since there's a saber here, we're going to take the right path. Now we're going to want to kill the thingy again. Might as well use our last rifle bullet. Rifle cartridge, I should say. Gotta use the correct terminology here. And I missed and I fell. And the lamp has gone off. Our rifle is now empty, but if we actually still had any ammunition left for it, the game would say the cartridges are wet. Which is another reason it's good to have the revolver here. If you fall in the water, then you will lose all of your remaining rifle cartridges. And that weapon will no longer be good to you anymore. And now the matchboxes are also wet. So those are also useless to us. And we will also here demonstrate an advantage of the revolver, which is that it has no recoil like the rifle does. Fortunately, there isn't a whole lot more need for revolver shots at this point. Oh, you know what? I think the flying critter might actually be on a higher level than me. Yeah, it's above me. That's why I'm not hitting. Now I should be able to hit it, which hopefully I will do before it causes me any harm. Damn it. Oh my god, I'm terrible. Maybe it's still one more level up. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, a skull to port, so we're going left now. And then saber, so we'll take a right again when we hit the next intersection. How badly have I been blowing through my... Oh man, I've blown through half my rifle ammo. That's terrible. Whoop. A saber, starboard. And I've gone and fallen right on top of a deep one. Things are suddenly not going my way here. Don't stunlock me, bro. Okay, I've actually kind of lost track of my navigation here, so I'm just going to go up. I'm just not going to worry about flying, bro, and I'm going to proceed onward. Because we are getting very deep into the endgame, and at this point, there's really not a whole lot of point in just messing around a whole lot more. So, a chest, eh? Ah, a lock chest. Well, fortunately, we happen to acquire a very big, chunky key from the hands of some dancing ghosts. And inside we find a gem, and what I believe to be our last volume of the game.
Memoirs of a Lost Soul.
The mask must fall. You who discover this manuscript understand this. I am here at your side. I am waiting in the darkness of my crypt. Soon you will belong to me. One of my slaves wrote this document. I have lived for 3 centuries, and my name is Ezekiel Prext, or Elijah Pickford. You may choose which to call me.
Well, well, we have quite the reveal here. A document from the hand of Ezekiel Prext himself. And you may have had your suspicions, but this is another confirmation that Prext and Pickford are one and the same. Incidentally, I thought the surname Prext sounded kinda cool, so I went looking around on the internet for it. I don't think it's an actual surname because pretty much every search reference I could find was a reference to Alone in the Dark. Too bad.
I do not hide out of fear. My power is immense. I have sailed the 7 seas. My ship, the Astarte, spread terror through all the continents. The corsairs judged me like the Welsh judges of 1620, but they could not destroy me, and neither could the pirates. Now, I am immobilized. Damned Yankees!
Damned Yankees, huh? Can you take me high enough? Alright, enough of that. So, apparently the death of one Elijah Pickford at the hands of the, Union soldiers did cause him to become immobilized, and that's why he needs a new body.
Witchcraft, voodoo, and the Cthulhu cult. I know them all. I have reigned and implored the stones. Only the Chthonian haunts the cavern and resists me, but he dare not attack. I have need of a living body to regenerate myself. The Heartwoods managed to escape from me, but you who are reading these words, you will yield to my embrace.
I don't know if I'd count on that, buddy Ezek. You haven't messed with the legs of Ed Carnby before. Also, the Chthonian. That is a reference to the giant tentacle-faced worms that go sliding around these caverns. Chthonians were created neither by H.P. Lovecraft nor one of his contemporaries, but by Brian Lumley, an author who wrote various works in the Cthulhu mythos in the 70s, before going on to greater success in the 80s with the Necroscope series. Mr. Lumley continued to have new material published into the 2010s, and as of this recording is still with us. As for the Chthonians, they're giant burrowing worms with tentacle faces, so their portrayal in this game is reasonably faithful. In Mr. Lumley's writings, one can always hear chanting in the presence of a Chthonian, so maybe that accounts for the weird noises they make as they crawl through the caverns under Derceto.
I hear your ragged breath. And smell the stench of your fear. I have vanquished death. I built Derceto. I know what it is to wait. Cthulhu helps me. My servants will lay you upon the sacrificial stone. My roar will rend the night. You will be mine, and I shall reign once more. Come to me.
Oh, careful of that scenery there, Mr. Pregst. Too much of that's not good for your stomach. Well, now we have a more complete idea of what we're up against. Let me take another look at what we got here. Pirate's Logbook and a gem. I could get rid of a few things now, namely the logbook and the key, but I don't think we're at really much danger for running out of inventory space at this point, so I'll leave it alone. Also, we're about to see just how strong Edward Carnby really is. And of course, if we were Emily Hartwood, she would be just as strong. That looks like a hell of a big boulder, unless it's like paper mache or something. I do have to say, I am thoroughly impressed. Yeah, we have here a door that I don't believe we can actually open. Let me check on that. There's a mechanism to trigger. Oh, is this where we need the gem? I think it might be. Let me check on that. Oh, nope, this isn't the place. Okay. So I guess I'm going this way. I don't actually remember completely reliably, so let me save, just to make sure. Ah, okay, this is where we need to be. A room in the dark. Now, we have a fairly sizable maze ahead of us. And, as it happens, if you don't have enough lamp oil to get through this maze, you are fucked. It is, I think, perfectly possible to navigate it blind, but good luck with that. I have made some notes on how to get through the maze. Hopefully I will actually be able to follow them correctly. Now, you will note we have some wet matchboxes, which is a bit of a problem. And that is why the lighter is key. Actually, it is possible to get to this point without falling in the water, and thus without getting your matches wet, but there will become a point where that is no longer possible, and the lighter does become strictly a requirement. So let's see if I can figure out my way through this maze from my notes, or if I will have made incomprehensible notes, which is a common problem with me. Okay, lamp is on. We have, unfortunately, not unlimited, we have limited visibility. Now this here, I believe to be a door that we cannot pass at this time. Mechanism to trigger. That is not where we need the gem. I'm quite certain of that. So we will just continue our way through the maze. So my notes say keep right for a while. Turn left at second fork. So that's the first fork. Here's the second fork. So we're turning left. By the way, I think our eventual goal is to get to something like the lower right-hand corner of the maze. So we're making a left. Keep following the right wall for a while. Then when we're walking down along the left side of the screen, hang a left at the fork. Okay, clearly that wasn't right. Yeah, hopefully I'll get this all sorted out before I run out of lamp oil. Fingers firmly crossed, and I've definitely screwed up. Okay, I think I may have taken a fork too early. Hopefully I will be able to blunder through notes or no notes. My notes clearly are less than perfect, I am already seeing. That's clearly not right. How's our lamp situation? Not too bad. Okay, this corner is not where I need to be. Let's try over this way. I think I am headed in the right direction, because again, I think in a sort of lower right sort of place is where we ultimately want to go. Not there, though. That's not quite right. Maybe a little further down from here. Nope, that's not right either. Okay, I have gotten myself well confused. Should have tried to return to following my notes. That's an obstruction. Was this in fact actually a path? Nope, that's nothing. Lamp going down a little faster than I would strictly like. What if I go down here and this way? No, I think I was here before. Gosh, I hope I'm in something vaguely resembling a correct direction. No, wait, this is exactly where I was before, isn't it? Okay. Folks, you had to know this was coming if you've ever been through this game before or seen anyone else play through it. There's a maze. Naturally, I'm going to get all turned around and screwed up. I'm probably going to get myself all the way back to the beginning, aren't I? Yep, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Okay. Lost on, ladies and gentlemen. Your friend and mine. Okay, this time, we're going to go past that first fork. I think we might be good. Yes, wonderful. There's a mechanism to trigger, and this, I believe, is where we need the gem. Beautiful. Wait a minute. This looks extremely familiar. You remember that painting back in Jeremy's gallery of that pillar or tree or whatever that was wreathed in flames? I think we found it. I think he was actually painting something from his dream explorations. And yes, I just spoiled that this is the very end game. The lamp has gone off, and we have deep ones, and we have fireballs coming at us from the tree. Look out, Ed. Oh, that hurt. As you can see, the fireballs are perfectly capable of hitting the deep ones. Bad news for them. And we found the slab that we get laid on when we die. Let's go ahead and claim this hook, and then let's quickly put down the talisman. We need to place that before we can do anything else. That is the body of Pregst, and I don't think he appreciated that. There's actually supposed to be a noise played there when you put the talisman in place of him groaning. It didn't play, and I'm not sure why. At least I didn't hear it. I don't have my headphones perfectly in place. But anyway, what we need to do now is spark our lamp back up. This is why the lighter is mandatory. And then the second of 2 times I believe that the throw command is actually needed. Okay, there was the groan. That brings death to the deep one. And that brings death to all of the creatures. Everything in the game is now dead, and once you're no longer in danger of being crushed by boulders, you can explore freely throughout the house wherever you really want to. This is where we need the hook. To open the door out of here, which is the door that they come through when they leave us on the slab. Now, let's see. I have to remember how to get back out of here. If you turn left after the hook door, according to my notes, and don't go up the big ledges, there's another hook door in the maze that will get us out faster. You can go up the ledges if you like, but then you have to go back through some of the caverns, and it's a little bit of a slower path. This room I don't believe is in the dark anymore. In fact, I know it's not since we don't actually have the lamp anymore. And it's now fully visible, so that's very nice of the developers. I don't think there's any real danger beyond this point, but I'm just going to play it safe. Make sure I've got a save. Okay, now I think if I drop down from here, I can go through that hole in the water there. By the way, there is falling damage in this game, but it's not very bad. Ed, I didn't need you to do that, buddy. Yeah, now I have to remember how to actually get back out of here, which I don't remember entirely reliably at all. Ooh, maybe that's the hole I need. That sounded slightly naughty, do excuse me. Where the hell has this put me? Oh, back in this room, okay. Now where do I go from here? Well, at least there's no more deep ones to pester me on the way out. I think we're good. I think we can now escape this way because the Chthonian is gone. Ah, yes, it's that throat-like path in the basement. Now, I have heard of a revision of the game in which you're stuck if you didn't move the barrels here earlier, and you're just stuck behind them and can never escape. I've never been able to confirm that, and I think it's just a rumor. I don't believe it's actually a real thing. If you didn't move the barrels earlier, Carnby will just roll them out of the way from the other side. Or Emily will, as the case may be. It doesn't matter that you didn't remove the block earlier. Well, here we are, back in the main hall, on our way toward the exit. All of the creatures are dead now that Pickford/Pregst is gone. Even the Chthonians have moved on. So hopefully that means that whatever the hell that is outside the front door will no longer be there to eat us. Fingers crossed. What a wonderfully Nightmare on Elm Street style ending. Well, we're out of Derceto, I suppose that's the really important thing here. There is one other difference here, one other thing that changes regarding whether you play as Edward Carnby or Emily Hartwood. Instead of the jump for joy that Mr. Carnby does, Emily, upon escaping the mansion, does this sort of arm-waving cheer when she gets out that almost looks like she's trying to hype up a crowd. Well then, my friends, with apologies for the bit of gratuitous lost done, although I suppose that's more or less obligatory in any game in which it's remotely possible, that is Alone in the Dark. A very important game in the history of the medium, and one that I think doesn't always get the recognition, as I said in my intro, that such a historically important game gets for its historical importance. Part of its problem would be that none of the sequels really measured up to the original. I mean, I personally like Alone in the Dark 2, and Alone in the Dark 3 is not without its charms, but I would not call either of them a good sequel per se, even if they're okay as games in their own right. And the less said about the reboots and revivals, perhaps the better. Resident Evil, on the other hand, which is Alone in the Dark's most direct descendant, continued to get better for many of its sequels. Resident Evil 2 is often considered the best game in the series by many. Resident Evil 4, very, very well regarded. Resident Evil 7, also very well regarded. And the remakes, the remake of 2 was really good, and the remake of 3 is looking really good. So, all in all, it's been a more successful series. Even though I didn't like the Resident Evil movies personally, even they're better than the Alone in the Dark movies. My god, what isn't? But the original Alone in the Dark, whatever you think of the sequels, I think remains a very good game. It's certainly technically primitive at this point, but gameplay-wise, it holds up fairly well. And I think it is important to keep in mind that without Alone in the Dark, there never would be a Resident Evil. Now, on the subject of sequels, after the smash success of Alone in the Dark, the president of Infogrames, Bruno Bonnell, required a sequel to be released as soon as possible, and to keep dev time and costs down using the same engine. Meanwhile, Reynal wanted to move up to bigger and better things in the sequel, including bigger and better technology. This led to a certain butting of heads, as I mentioned earlier, the end result of which was the departure of Reynal and friends from Infogrames, and their founding of Adeline, and the production of the Twinsen games we previously talked about. An interesting note about Mr. Bonnell, he was elected to the French National Assembly in June 2017 as a member of the political party La République En Marche. One of the more recent games Reynal and Barros worked on is 2017's Too Dark, a stealth horror game that didn't really set the world on fire, but it's supposed to be reasonably okay, and certainly gruesome, with a whole lot of potential dead kids. I do have the Steam version, and will likely stream it one of these days. Next up on the Major Games hit list, in any case, is Alone in the Dark 2, which I am going to go ahead and play through. However, I think I'll probably do something small before I launch into that, just to kinda cleanse the palate a little bit and break up the Alone in the Dark action. I hope, dear friends, that you will join me for whatever that little snack is, and then for Alone in the Dark 2 afterward, and that you have enjoyed the trip through Alone in the Dark 1. As always, I've been very happy to have you, and I thank you for your time, your interest, and your feedback. Until we meet again, do take care, be good to you, stay safe, and until we kick off on our next adventure, that's game, Hendrix. Today's somewhat awkward escape from Derceto has been brought to you by Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zangamarth, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Sanguine Games, Misha Van Doren, Frank Grizzy, Tim J., Lolo De Puzzlo, Joshua C. Ritchie, Jared C. Rice, Sonic Rose, EX Potemkin, Mechasaurus, DG Jono, Doug Russell, Dodecalope, Jirogue, Martin Schoenmakers, Mayo the Hedgefox, Hildegard Agelmach, IGV, Jazel, Joseph Hall, Dan Larson, K. Ivan Rubert, Tiny Shopkeeper, Charlie Dunst, Kigoskia, Kobo4231, Yuka Takeuchi Fan, Chaotic Narrative, Mystery Accent, Lakota, Mei Yanling, Renaman, Fate Everywhere, TJA, Sparkazai Levzer, Super Pervert 69, Zero, Bueller 13, and other disoriented patrons. Thank you all for your wonderful kindness and generosity, and to all of my faithful subscribers, commenters, and watchers for joining me on yet another adventure. I'm getting up into the neighborhood of 800 videos on the channel now, including the stream uploads and highlights, which I find just insane to think about. For whatever reason, I find myself a little reflective as I record this, and it really has been a truly extraordinary journey since way back in 2007. Life can come at you fast, but if it's at all within my power, barring any auto accidents or lightning strikes or what have you, I'm looking forward to hitting that 20-year milestone come 2027. If any of you kind folks are still hanging around this little place on the Interblops then, I will consider myself truly blessed and humbled. In the meantime, though, perhaps it's best to take it one day, one video, one game at a time, and so I shall look forward to joining you for the next. Until then, all the best to you and yours, and see you real soon. Hello out there, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've had a good time, and I've been glad to have you. If you enjoyed this video, new subscribers always brighten my day, and if you really dig my stuff and would like to support me on Patreon, I shall be very grateful indeed. You're also invited to go with the stream every Friday at twitch.tv/unplayedathing. Thank you again, and have a good one.